Now, I've said this before. We've not understood very clearly what prophecy is. Okay? Prophecy is not speaking the future, although sometimes that's a part of it. Prophecy is what he says right here. Speaking the things of Yah by inspiration of the Ruach. In other words, inspired speaking of Yahweh's word. Sometimes that's talking about future events. Often it's about talking about what you just need to know that you need to be doing right now. But it's inspired speaking of the word of Yah. Now listen to what he says in going to verse 1 of chapter 2. He says, but there also came to be false prophets among the people, as also among you there are false prophets, false teachers, who shall secretly bring in destructive heresies and deny the master who brought them, bringing swift destruction on themselves. And many shall follow their destructive ways, because of whom the way of truth shall be evil spoken of. Now, hold on a second. First of all, he's saying that there's going to be false prophets. So what's a false prophet? And we've done a teaching called Beware False Prophets. A false prophet is somebody who's doing what he says in verse 20. He says that these are people that are using their own interpretation. In other words, they're interpreting prophecy or claiming that they're getting inspiration when it's not coming from Yah. Okay, and these heresies that are coming in, he says, now beware of this. He says, now listen, what they're doing is, because of what they're doing, the way of truth, the halakha of truth, the derech, the path of truth. What's the path of truth? It sounds like it's something you ought to be doing, right? The way of life, the path, the things that you do that are the truth will be spoken evil of, will be spoken as if it's evil. Anybody here, Torah observance attacked by friends, family, preachers, Sunday keeping preachers that you hear on the TV and everything else as being wrong to do? Isn't that exactly what's going on here? Well, now you know those are false teachers. If they're going to say that the way of truth is evil, or being treated like it's horrible and wrong and evil, well, then you need to know that that is a false teacher. That's Peter right there telling you. I mean, can it be any more clear? He says that these false teachers that many are following, okay, their destructive ways. And why is it destructive? He says, because the way of truth is speaking of as evil. The path of truth. The Torah is truth. Yeshua is truth. The word is truth. And they're speaking of it evil. By the way, is that not exactly what Ezekiel says in Ezekiel 22 when he says that they do violence to my Torah? They don't set apart the profane from the clean and my Sabbaths from all the paganism, right? In Ezekiel 22, we don't have to turn there, but you know what I'm talking about? It's the same exact thing that he's saying here about these false teachers. He says, her priests have done violence to my teaching, and this is in verse 26 of Ezekiel 22. He says, they profane my set-apart matters. They have not distinguished between the set-apart and the profane, nor have they made known the difference between the unclean and the clean, and they hide their eyes from my Sabbaths. They coat with a whitewash. I'm jumping down to verse 28. They see a false vision, divining a lie for them, saying, thus said Yahweh, when Yahweh hadn't said. Peter's saying the same thing. No different. Do you think Peter knew about Ezekiel 22? And he's simply saying, it was happening in Ezekiel's day. It's happening now also. And I'm going to say it's happening now also. Okay, so it happened in Ezekiel's day. Peter's saying nothing's different now with us. And I'm saying nothing's different now with us too. Okay? He says, now this, and in case we're not clear, it says, and agreed with fabricated words, divining a lie, saying Yahweh said when Yahweh hadn't said, right? And they shall use you for gain. Oh, just send in your $1,000 seed now. From of old, their judgment does not linger, and their destruction does not slumber. Wow. But understand, the true prophets, even today, the true teachers, even today, are speaking under inspiration of the Ruach. And how do you know? Because it's in line with the Word, the Scripture, the Torah. We did this in the Beware False Prophets teaching. There are two places in the Tanakh that talk about false teachers specifically in Moses' writings. One says if a teacher or a prophet claims something's going to happen and it doesn't happen, they're false. So by the way, that means all those teachers out there that have been fear-mongering everybody about the next blood moon thing or the next this or the next that, there are people out there naming right now. I was just told that, the anti-Messiah is going to be named or come into, be known in August or something, or the end of the world is in July and all these other things. When those things don't happen, and they won't, people will still follow these people. Just like they keep following all the other ones that keep saying things are going to happen and they don't happen. Am I attacking these guys? No, I'm simply appealing to you. This is what Scripture says. They're false teachers. Oh, but they teach so great. That doesn't mean that they're complete morons. It doesn't mean that they don't know anything. Every one of you went to church and found that there were times when you had teachers that you thought were awesome because they taught stuff that was right as a part of the other stuff they taught that was wrong. If only they taught wrong, you wouldn't have stayed. You would have had enough sense to know that much. But they had enough right that you stayed. Enough that you said, yeah, that's right. That is how relationships work, or this works, or that works, as whatever they were teaching. So don't tell me, oh, but I love the way he teaches this, and I love the way he teaches that. Well, so what? He's a false teacher. If he says something's going to happen and it doesn't happen, I don't know. Is there any other way to interpret these verses? But yet, some of you are still following these guys. I don't get it. I don't want their ministries to die. Scripture wants their ministries to die. It says destruction is going to come on them in swift destruction. And I've encouraged them to stop doing it. I said, stop doing this. I'm not saying stop warning people. I warn people too. Someday all of this stuff is going to happen. There you go. I warned you. And it may or may not be in your lifetime. And I've told you that too. Every generation has thought it was them, and every generation's been wrong. So there you have it. So what makes you so sure it's you? Well, because every generation is so sure it's them. Your parents thought it was them, and your grandparents thought it was them, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, did they know? But it wasn't. Counseled somebody this week who made all kinds of horrible decisions in his relationship and with his family and his life because he was convinced it was the end times, and when it turned out it wasn't the way he thought it was, he actually lost his family over it. Because instead of providing for his family and getting the job he needed to have and everything else, he was just getting ready to pack up and hide and be ready for the end times. Well, guess what? It didn't happen. Are you also going to get on the top of the roofs waiting for Hail Bop to come? Remember that? Okay, coming by. Remember everybody waiting for that whole thing? Look, don't wait on the rapture bus. It's got a blown engine and 4 flat tires. Not happening. Okay? Stop with all that nonsense. Live this out. Walk this out, and you'll be just fine. That's the whole key. That's what's going on here. But he's saying here, look, the ones who are speaking inspiration. Now, I did say that there was the ones that were, and this is in Moses' writing where it didn't happen. But then there's in Deuteronomy 13, he says, the prophet, though, who says something and it does happen. Now we have a problem because now we don't know if that's a real prophet or not. He says, well, yes, you do. If he's using being right to lead you towards Yahweh and Torah, he's probably right. If he's leading you away from Yahweh and Torah, he's still wrong. Even though he said something would happen, and it did, he's still wrong. For all those people that say that all these miracles happened in their Sunday churches, I'm sure they happened. But did it strengthen you in Torah or did it strengthen you in not Torah? So don't think that just because they're false, they can't do things. Deuteronomy 13 tells you they can. When a dreamer of dreams or a prophet says something will happen, and it does, he says, be careful now to see, well, where is he leading you? Where is he taking you with it? What is its purpose? Is it strengthening? See, miracles have a purpose. To strengthen your belief in something. Is it strengthening your belief in Yahweh, Yeshua, and Torah? Or is it strengthening your belief in something else? What is it strengthening? That's what miracles are for, to give you strength in something. To encourage you, to bolster up your belief in something. To make you say, this proves that this is right. Or it could be proving it's wrong, depending on what it's strengthening. Be careful. Because people say, well, then how could these things happen in my church? Well, Deuteronomy tells you that it can happen. I don't know how it's happening. I just know it can. Not really concerned with how. Scripture doesn't tell me I have to worry about how. It just tells me to be aware of what. If it's leading away from Yeshua, Yahweh, and Torah, it's no good. I don't care what it is. I don't care how impressive it is. It's no good. You don't need to be involved.